first of all, I want to apologize that I did not do the preview in terms of looking at the 10 games that happened on Saturday and Sunday of match week number 22, aka Heineken Rivalry Week Part 2. And technically, I actually did record the video, but when I upload the video just before I begin my Saturday morning shift, for whatever reason, when I come back at home, the video was not uploaded and it didn't process on YouTube, and obviously I was very frustrated about that, and I wasn't able to re-upload the video because most of the games have already played by the time that I got home from my morning shift, and also for my little Sports Hub episode I did over the weekend. But that being said, I will kind of mention some of the things that I said in terms of the preview on Saturday, in terms of the review tonight, where tonight, in terms of the review, we're going to look at the 3 games that happened today, and tomorrow I'll look at the 7 games that happened in terms of yesterday action of Heineken Rivalry Week. Which, speaking of which, in terms of tonight's action, well, if you like goals, tonight was definitely the night for you, because 15 goals were scored in the 3 games that we saw, and we also saw a game where virtually no defense was played by both teams. And that's where we actually begin, which is the Copa Tejas match. And, this was not quite an old-fashioned Texas shootout, even by the scoreline, because there was one point that Dallas was up 5-1, and Austin did kind of made it a little bit interesting in the latter part of the second half. But it could have been easily an old-fashioned Texas shootout if the goalkeepers in this game would have made some big save, and also a couple of shocking misses from both of these teams. And that if that, of course, was the case, this game could have easily ended 7-7 in favor of both teams. But the goal fest all started in the 4th minute when Jesus Ferreira basically gave Dallas a 1-0 lead. They were about to talk about the keys to the game, and I basically just say, so much for talking about the keys to the game. And, another thing that I think a lot of people really hate Fox of doing, or at least what FS1 has been doing in MLS game, is that they just randomly cut to somebody on the bench while an action, of course, was going on. And they did it again here, where they just literally cut the live action, even though the ball was taken quickly from Dallas, and we almost missed a goal because of what they did that. So that is something that I think FS1s have to eventually figure out. This has been a problem ever since they started covering MLS, and it's just so frustrated that they're still having this problem as we speak in 2021. But nevertheless, it was 1-0 in favor of FC Dallas, and Austin, they were still kind of playing out of the back, which that really kind of triggered the co-commentator. And I actually don't know, or I forgot what was the co-commentator name. It was some British guy that was doing a co-commentating in this one, alongside with the main commentator from SKC, which I also forgot what was his name. But he was definitely very triggered when he saw Austin basically playing out of the back. And I usually don't like co-commentators decide to be very triggered, and almost kind of feel like he is getting angry and kind of getting salty about what they did, because I understand that you're frustrated, don't like what Austin is trying to do, and obviously it does cause some mistake, but you don't really need to be on the air and basically just lay it out on them. And I also thought that the co-commentator wasn't actually that good throughout this game, because there was time where he kind of feel like he was almost commentating like in the perspective of a fan. And when you're a co-commentator, you're supposed to give analysis of the game, and not just kind of just give analysis based on kind of almost sounds like you're a fan of the team. So that was kind of a little bit annoying in some way hearing that. But again, this was not the main commentating the main commentating team for FS1. In fact, I thought maybe John Strong and Stu Holden was going to commentate this game too, but I guess since they commentate El Tráfico yesterday, that's why I think they weren't going to commentate this one, because it's very rare that they, of course, commentate day 2 FS1 game in back-to-back days. Now, in the 9th minute, Felipe was able to deny Drury's shot from close range, despite the fact that Felipe actually gave up 3 goals in this game. He had a monster game in this one, and he was really one of the reasons why he was able to keep his team not only from a late collapse late in this game, but really keep Austin only scoring just the free goals that they end up scoring in this one. I mean, I know it sounds kind of low key, but you're gonna see later on why those saves that Felipe made in this game turns out to be big. But it was really end-to-end action early in the Copa Tejas. In the 11th minute, Fagundes' shot did actually took a wicked deflection that just goes high there, and then just 2 minutes later, Austin would get the equalizer as Cascadia, who scored his first goal for Austin FC. Now he did score a goal, I think, against LAFC just a couple weeks ago, but you guys remember that goal, of course, was disallowed because of offside. This time it wasn't disallowed; it did count as Cascadia was able to finally get his first goal for Austin FC from Komanic. And the game was all tied up at 1 apiece, and you're just thinking, yeah, this is going to get crazy, isn't it? And indeed it would, because in the 19th minute, Ring almost made it 2-1 in favor of Austin as he puts a long-range effort high before Gallagher puts it just wide from 18 yards out. And after being kind of end-to-end in the beginning of this game, Austin started to take control of this game and was looking to try to get a go-ahead goal. They also put his stats that Austin take 42% shots outside the box, which, yeah, that kind of just sums up why maybe Austin is having trouble scoring this season. Because while I have seen times where teams have been able to score a goal from outside the box, you don't want to take majority of your shot outside the box, because most of the time those are the most difficult ones to trying to put the ball into the back of the net. And again, it's no surprise that a lot of chances that Austin has had that been misfire has because coming from outside the box, and they really need to learn to just not always just get in near the 18-yard box and fire away, and instead just try to maybe work their opposition defense a little bit, kind of maybe be a little bit more creative. Though that being said, that's also been one of the big issues that Austin has been having so far this season. But then in the 36th minute, little did we know that the floodgates would open for FC Dallas, as Ricardo Pepe would score from Schoons and Cervena to make it 2-1 in favor of FC Dallas. Before 2 minutes later, Jesus Ferreira would get on the score sheet for the second time to make it 3-1. And then it would be 4-1 just 2 minutes later as Ricardo Pepe scored again from Schoon. And this one, yeah, Stewart should have saved it. And Stewart, obviously, he definitely did not had a good game in this one. And remember how I talked about in my mid-season award ceremony how I give Hernan Losada the Coach of the Year, and ever since I gave him that award, DC has definitely not looked the best. And I remember when they released an MLS article handing out those mid-season awards to the best players or the best coaches in the first half of the season. I remember they say Brad Stewart was the goalkeeper of the year in the first half of the season. Yeah, ever since that, it feels like it's almost like an award curse that Brad Stewart has been gotten, because ever since that, he has definitely looked nothing like the Brad Stewart that we've seen earlier this season, where he come up big, of course making some save for this Austin team. And I even said this before, the reason why I don't give Brad Stewart the goalkeeper of the year, and now seeing how he has definitely not been in his best form and probably might not even end up to be even in contention for goalkeeper of the year, is that he made these mistakes before. And I think the first goal was really part of his mistake, where he just kind of misplayed it out of the back and just let Jesus Ferreira easily able to score the first goal of the game. And here, it's just one that he just got beat by the near post. And I know Ricardo Pepe has been red hot, but you cannot get beat in the near post if you're a goalkeeper. But yeah, in a blink of an eye, it was 4-1 in favor of FC Dallas. I also wrote the Austin defense was just getting ripped apart, because I didn't write it here because if I would have wrote more notes, I would have run out of room. In fact, I kind of ran out of room in terms of talking about the stats of this game. But Dallas, it looked like every time they would go on the attack, they were potentially going to score a goal. And I think Austin, even though they eventually would go down 4-1 heading into halftime, they were lucky it was not 5 or 6-1 heading into time with the chance that Dallas had during that 10-minute spell. Now, heading into the second half, Ferreira did puts it straight to Brad Stewart before Dallas would extend their lead to 5-1, as O'Brien would make it 5-1 in favor of Dallas. And again, the Austin defense, which has been non-existent in this game, and they were hoping maybe bring Romano would solve the issue. Well, no. Instead, it seems like he becomes even a bigger liability, as he basically just kind of misheads this one. O'Brien basically pounced on it. And just like that, Dallas, of course, were up 5-1. But then it could have been 5-2 if Felipe didn't rob Dominguez in the back post before Jerussi puts it wide in the 55th minute. And, Austin, even though they were down 5-1 in this game, they were trying to kind of play for pride and maybe get one back. And eventually they would get one back. And it's Fagundes that scored from Jerussi to make it 5-2 in favor of Dallas. It could have been 6-2 just 3 minutes later when Pepe could have had a chance to get his second hat trick in his MLS career, but he missed an absolute sitter from 4 yards out. Lima then puts it over the bar in the 66th minute. Before it was 5-3 in favor of Dallas, as Ring would score from Jimenez, and there was actually some pushing and shoving that was going on after the goal. I think it kind of triggered when Ring was trying to quickly grab the ball, and I think Dallas players decided to hold on to the ball as long as possible, just to make sure that Austin don't quickly go on the restart after scoring that third goal and kind of trigger that pushing and shoving. But there was no doubt the momentum was all with Austin up to that point. And, throughout this game, well, the Verde supporter were definitely in full voice. When Austin did win down 5-1, you can definitely hear kind of a pin drop at Q2 Stadium if you ignore the Verde support who would seem like they didn't really care that they were down 5-1, and they were just kind of being there and sell and kind of having a party. And you could even say that, even without the supporter, this was probably the quietest I've heard Q2 Stadium and the quietest I hear Austin play. And, in some way I don't blame them, because when your team is down 5-1, there's really not much to kind of cheer about if you're not a supporter or in the supporters section of Q2 Stadium. But there's no doubt that after that third goal scored, you can definitely felt the energy of the stadium brought back again. And also, you can definitely tell that Dallas was just looking gassed, because there were a couple of guys that was basically facing cramp. Keep in mind, for most of these teams, they're pretty much playing their third game in 7 days, and playing in the hot Texas night is not going to help that factor. But in the 77th minute, it could have been 5-4, but Felipe was able to rob Fagundes from close range before Rain did puts it high from close range, as Austin was trying to push to get that fourth goal to set up a grandstand finish. But again, it could have been 6-3 in favor of FC Dallas, and Dallas could have had that sixth goal if Ferreira didn't get denied by the post. And in some way, he should have scored in this one. Like, he had an empty net to shoot this one, and he just basically rattled that one off the post. But nevertheless, it didn't really matter in the end for Dallas, as they would walk away with a 5-3 win over Austin FC. And again, I actually don't know. Or actually, I didn't put the shots here on the board, but I'll give it to you right now. I won't be surprised if the shots is going to be a lot, because again, there was just no defense that was played by either team in this one. But in terms of the shots in this one, 15 shots compared to 20 that Dallas had. 7 shots on goal for both of these teams. 6 shots off target compared to 8 that Dallas had. 2 shots that was blocked compared to 5 that Dallas had. And possession-wise, 62% possession compared to 37% possession that Dallas has in this game. As you know, in the end, it wasn't pretty, but Dallas was able to do just enough to outlast Austin in this game. And for Austin, there was part of this game where I was saying this was probably the worst game I've seen Austin FC play. And they did kind of show some fight back, but, anytime when you find yourself down in such a big hole, like a 5-1 hole that they had, it was almost virtually impossible for them to come back into this game. But again, I think the only good thing coming out of Austin in this game is that at least they show some fight back. But really, fight back doesn't really matters if at the end of the day you still end up on the losing side. And now this Austin team will desperately need a win, and definitely need a wins like this one to start their potential hope to get back into the playoff race. It seems like that is now starting to diminish because of this loss. But now moving on, in terms of the next match, is going to be Vancouver versus RSL in a game where, I talked about throughout the preview where I think there is no doubt that not only this is the most underrated derby in Heineken Rivalry Week, but I would argue this might be the most kind of weird rivalry, and you can maybe even say in some way the best rivalry we're going to see from all the rivalry that happened in Heineken Rivalry Week, because how many times will you see where both head coaches for both of these teams that got fired from this week and really from a 24-hour span, and basically you had two interim head coach playing or debuting their first game as interim head coach facing off against each other. And yeah, I mean, I don't think that has ever happened in MLS. And I even talked about in the preview, it's going to be interesting to see which team, of course, is going to get the coaching bump, knowing the fact that both interim head coach basically coaching their first game is going to be facing off against each other. And at the end of the night, it was Vancouver interim head coach that was able to get the most out of that interim head coach bump on their team. And then kind of some too, because Vancouver, I thought this was probably the best game that the Whitecaps have played all season against RSL. And they were on the front foot early in this game before Ryan Gold tried to hit it off the volley, but it hit straight to Putna. Ryan Gold, another great game for the Vancouver Whitecaps. He's really started to become a guy that maybe can even sneak into that conversation of newcomer of the year this season if he can continue the form that he's been in ever since he's become a Whitecaps player. But in the 17th minute, Glad nearly scored an own goal, as that was just one of those where a dangerous ball come in and a defender accidentally basically touched that one and redirect toward goal, but Putna was able to just keep that one out before Putna did deny Brown in the 31st minute. But unfortunately in the 32nd minute, RSL wasn't so lucky in terms of not scoring an own goal, because they would score an own goal in the 32nd minute, and this was just a dangerous ball coming into the box. And again, Silver not so lucky this time, as his goalkeeper Putno wasn't able to prevent one that kind of ricochet off his knee accidentally and puts it into his own net. But yeah, the Whitecaps, even though they kind of got a little bit fortunate in terms of that first goal, they definitely deserve it with the pressure that they were putting on RSL. But then in the 41st minute, RSL almost equalized as Crepeau absolutely robbed Powder, who basically put an absolute rocket from about 35 yards out, and Crepeau just did enough to basically actually save that one and actually tipped off the post. Miram did have a chance to fall up on the rebound, but unfortunately he puts it over the bar, and that turns out to be a big moment in this game, because heading into the second half with the Whitecaps holding a 0 lead, after Brian White just hits it wide from close range, the Whitecaps would get the second goal, and it's Brian White himself that was able to score the second goal of this game for the Vancouver Whitecaps. But in many ways, he would like to thank Putna for the reason why he was able to get on the score sheet, because yeah, this was an absolute howler from Andrew Putna. Like, this one was just a simple ball coming into the box. Any goalkeeper at the caliber this level could easily catch that one, but for whatever reason, Putna just aren't able to get to it, and he basically fumbled it right into the path of Brian White, that basically saying, "Oh, look what I found. Okay, I'm just going to tap it into the back of the net to give my team a 2-0 lead." And that, of course, is the case at that point. Before 10 minutes later, it will be 3-0 in favor of the Caps, as Ryan Gold, once again, getting on the score sheet from Owusu. The TSN feed did show that the Whitecaps were up 4-0, and originally I was kind of confused, thinking, wait, did the Whitecaps actually score a goal while I wasn't looking? Because again, this game and this one was at the same time, so it was kind of hard for me to kind of watch both of these games, especially with the way that this game kind of started to get out of hand. I kind of started to not focus this game as much as this one's, hence that's why there wasn't really a lot of notes that I wrote here. And I thought I must have missed a goal that was scored from the Whitecaps, but in the end it was just kind of a mistake on the TSN feed. But in some way, whoever was the interim at the TSN feed kind of accidentally hit 4-0 for the Whitecaps. He kind of predicted the future, because after White just puts it wide from close range in the 67th minute, it would be 4-0 in favor of the Vancouver Whitecaps, as Florian Jungwirth scored his first goal for the Whitecaps from Ryan Goal. And I gotta be honest, I actually celebrate when this goal went in. Florian Jungwirth, even though he's now in Whitecaps color, he will definitely forever remember as a Quakes legend. A lot of Quakes fans really love Florian Jungwirth, and it was very unfortunate to see him, of course, move on from the Quakes, and rightfully so, because I think Jungwirth, as much as he is well loved in the fan base, it was pretty clear that he was just not good enough for the Quakes anymore, and it just feels like he was also at times a liability in terms of the Quakes defense. And so far, ever since he's joined the Whitecaps, he hasn't really got a lot of starts. I think this was his first start for the Whitecaps. I thought he looked decent in this game, but I'm pretty sure he is not a guy the Whitecaps will think that he's going to be one of the guy that's going to lead that back line for them. But at least in this sequence, he was able to get on the score sheet. And again, anytime when a former Quakes player gets on the score sheet, and especially it's a former Quakes player that is well loved within the fan base, I'm just going to celebrate, because it's almost like he's still part of our team, even though he is no longer part of the team and had been traded away to another one. But, despite the fact that, it was already 4-0 in this game, Vancouver, they were continuing to putting the foot on the gas. They weren't happy to just win 4-0, as they were looking to make it 5-0 in this game. But ultimately, with that push for the 5th goal, it did kind of expose them a little bit at the back. And in the end, they weren't able to keep the clean sheet, as in the 90th minute, Anderson Julio did give RSL a consolation goal to really kind of be the kind of only bright side for RSL in this game, and the only damper for Vancouver, unable to keep a clean sheet in this one. But ultimately, what a night this was for the Vancouver Whitecaps, as the shots in this one, 11 shots compared to 8 that RSL has, 5 shots on goal compared to 2 that RSL had. Both team had 4 shots off target, both team had 2 shots that was blocked, and possession-wise, 48% possession compared to 52% possession that RSL has in this game. And with this win, Vancouver, who were temporarily actually above the red line in this game, but only saw in the Timbers, of course, got above the red line after the Timbers were able to take the lead. They're still right there in terms of the playoff race, and in many ways, they're really back in the playoff race. Like, they are now part of a couple of teams that is really chasing down the 2 teams that is above the red line in the Western Conference. And one of those teams is RSL, who, again, I just feel like, letting go Freddie Horace seems like a bit of a mistake, because, I don't think Freddie Horace was doing very bad this season with this team. And, obviously with their new interim head coach, Pablo Mascherano, I'm not going to judge him on this performance based on the fact that, whenever you're an interim head coach and you just met the players a couple of times, it's going to be tough to try to get your ideas into the team. But yeah, there's no doubt that RSL needs to be much better and need to kind of put this behind them, because they are the team that is sitting in the spot that is just above the red line in the Western Conference. And I gotta say, whoever is that team that's sitting just above the red line in the Western Conference, they have the tall task of trying to fence off, because there's a lot of good team behind them that is trying to get that spot. And this is also why I love in some way, I want to say I love the playoff structure this year, but also at the same time, I want to say I hate it, because, not a lot of teams are going to make it to the playoffs like what we see in previous year. Well, it's the same amount of teams, but because there's more teams that is in the league, the playoff odds is definitely much steeper than previous years, and there's definitely a good chance that we are going to see a couple of good teams that potentially is not going to make the playoffs, whereas, if it was before, they probably would have just sneaked into the last playoff spot. But yeah, moving on into the last game of tonight's action is none other than the Cascadia Darby. And in many ways, this Cascadia Darby was very similar to the last one, where the team that were the more dominant side and had more of the chances ends up to be on the losing end. And whereas the Sounders last time were the team that were able to capitalize on the chances that they got and able to be on the winning side. This time they get to taste the medicine that the Portland Timbers suffered last time, which is they were the one that had more of the chances, but they weren't able to capitalize, and also hitting the post a couple of times, and basically ends up on the losing end. Whereas the Timbers, they were finally be the one to kind of feel what the Sounders felt last time, where they just did enough in terms of capitalizing on the mistake that the Sounders, of course, made, and also would definitely make their post the man of the match, because, yeah, they were basically rescued by the post 3 times in this game. Most of them came in the set piece. Now, in the first half, and 5 minutes into this game, they were definitely not thanking the post, because it was them that actually struck the post first, as Asprilla tried to put a rocket of a shot from 30 yards out, but that one, of course, struck the post, and instantly I was thinking, are we going to see more bangers in this Cascadia Derby? Because we saw tons of bangers from the last one, and it just felt like almost like where we picked up in terms of the last Cascadia Derby. But in the 9th minute, there was definitely a very scary incident, and if you're a Timbers fan, this is definitely not great news, seeing Eric Williamson went down with a nasty tackle that Paulo basically put on him and had to be stretched off the field. And that really gives kind of a deja vu kind of moment of what happened last year with Sebastian Blanco also suffering from a nasty tackle pretty much at the same stadium. And we later found out that of course was a torn ACL, and he pretty much was sidelined for not just the latter part of last season, but also for the first half of this season. And let's just hope Williamson doesn't suffer the same fate. But when you look at that scene, yeah, again, let's just hope it's not that serious. But I also thought that the first 15 minutes was kind of a bit cagey. I mean, obviously, I thought this Cascadia Derby wasn't as intense as we saw in the last one, and certainly there wasn't as much goals that was scored in the last Cascadia Derby. But early on, I thought it was kind of a cagey start, as both teams really kind of didn't really create a lot of chances. But that being said, the Timbers, I thought they were the better side in the first 20 minutes. But as soon as I wrote that, the Sounders almost scored. And it's Brad Smith, the one that almost gave the Sounders the lead, but he hits it high on the volley. But really, that was kind of the only chance that we had for a while, because it's kind of once again become stale and slow, as neither team really done much in the final third. There was kind of a loud cheer from the Sounders faithful after Giovanni Savarese goes in the book for dissent. Now, this all happened when, the Timbers player was surrounding the referee, and they were absolutely fuming when one of their players got a yellow card on a challenge that they made, even though the Sounders made kind of a similar challenge like that throughout this game, and they haven't got a yellow card, even though they've done it a couple of times. And in some way, I don't blame the Timbers player decide to do that, because any time when you see a referee not being very consistent with some of his call, or maybe being biased in terms of certain call, yeah, you of course are going to be frustrated. And again, Giovanni Savarese, who usually doesn't get very angry at the touchline, he was definitely having some choice words with the fourth official, and therefore he of course was booked for dissent. Then I kind of had a bit of a chuckle and say that John Champion kind of mentioned this has been a polite Cascadia Derby, which again, I basically kind of wrote, I'm pretty sure he's being sarcastic, because there's no way in the world you're saying this is a polite Cascadia Derby after what we just saw a couple of minutes ago, and especially of the fact that once again we saw some tackles that was just flying in, kind of very typical of a Cascadia Derby like that, and in no ways that this was a polite like Cascadia Derby from what we saw in the first 45 minutes. But we do head to halftime scoreless in this Cascadia Derby, and then in the second half, the post denied Paulo from a long-range effort in the 52nd minute. I mean, I'll tell you what, João Paulo, he has scored some amazing goals this season. In some ways, I'm kind of will have to take the Hassani Dotson trademark bangers only marker temporary and give it to João Paulo, because so far he has really, like, when he scored goals, it's going to be a banger, and he almost scored a banger here in the 52nd minute, only for it to be denied by the post. Before, in the 53rd minute, Cleveland got away with a howler as Mora almost capitalized on it. Oh, I thought Stephen Cleveland was very shaky, and I also talk about how earlier how this Cascadia Darby was similar to the last Cascadia Darby. Well, again, the goalkeeping was kind of similar because while on one end Steve Clark makes some incredible save to keep the Timbers the lead for a majority of this game, it was Stephen Cleveland, the one that really did not do a good job this time and kind of almost becoming the Ivicic of the last Cascadia Derby. As here he got away with a mistake. After I kind of wrote the Sounders kind of came out the second half as the better team and kind of dictated the play, the Timbers would of course score a goal. And this wasn't really completely on Cleveland, but I feel like this was a one that, even though Yamar kind of made a very bad pass at the back, and I did kind of wrote a rare mistake from Yamar, but when I look on the replay, I feel like maybe Cleveland should have quickly got to that one and just clear that away, because he doesn't get to it. Mora was able to get to it first, and then Felipe Mora, this is something you don't usually see often with a lot of goals scored. Just have that composure to be unselfish and basically play it across the five and teammate to hit it into an empty net. But that's what Felipe Mora did. He basically slides it across the other side of the field, give Blanco basically an empty net to shoot, which, when Blanco, of course, have an empty net to shoot, he's not going to miss, as he would not, in this instant, to give the Timbers a 1-0 lead. But then 2 minutes later, Shane O'Neill struck the post in the 60th minute before Clark would deny Paulo from a long-range effort. And then on the very next corner sequence, Arriaga heads it wide, and it was just not only wave after wave attack from the Sounders, but wave after wave wave after wave of corner kick that almost lead the Sounders the equalizer. And I also wrote the Timbers. They were just not doing well in terms of their set piece defending, but I feel like their set piece defending almost cost them the lead in this game. Now in the 66th minute, Clark was able to tip Rowe, who tried to kind of do a random layout, but Clark was kind of having none of it and just tips that one over the bar. Before Yamar missed it high on the header. Once again, bad set piece defending for the Portland Timbers. I think throughout this game they mentioned how they concede 17 goals so far from the corner, which I believe that leads the league in terms of the most goal conceded from the corner. And I think tonight you kind of just show why exactly they concede 17 goals, because those set piece defending from the Timbers was just absolutely awful. Like, how in the world did they get beat from an aerial duel over and over again is just kind of astonishing. But really, as the time kind of wind down, the Sounders were really throwing the kitchen sink and try to get that equalizer, while the Timbers, they were definitely looking to try to bunker and hold on to the 1-0 lead. The post would deny the Sounders the third time in the 85th minute, as this time it's Rodin, the one that becomes the latest victim of the woodwork, before Clark was able to deny Ruidíaz from long range, and then Ruidíaz basically almost hit the post, and it almost was 4 times that the Sounders hits the post in this one, but he just missed that one of a header that kind of almost grazed the right side of the post. And I think also at this point I was just thinking, yeah, it's probably just not Sounders day. In fact, I probably should have wrote that when they hit the post the third time, where I just feel like, yeah, this, when you hit the post that many times and you've been blue balled that many times, this is just not their day. And it pretty much was confirmed in the 4th minute of stoppage time when the Timbers finally killed the game off. And it's Felipe Mora that scores the goal to make it 2-0 in favor of the Timbers. But in many ways, again, Stephen Cleveland, an absolute goalkeeping howler. This one basically came off his lines. All he need to do is either kick that one away, or in this case, just kind of hit that one away. But he completely mishits that one, which give Mora a chance to win that ball, which he was able to do. And you know what Mora is going to do. He's going to try to chip the keeper, because Stephen Cleveland was way out of his lines, and he was able to successfully do so to give the Timbers a 2-0 lead, and that would be the final score of this Cascadia Darby. As the shots in this one, 16 shots per the 10 that the Timbers had, 5 shots on goal per the 2 that the Timbers had, 7 shots off target per the 2 that the Timbers had, 4 shots that was blocked per the 6 that the Timbers had, and possession-wise, 55% possession compared to 45% the Timbers has in this game. What a big victory this was for the Portland Timbers, and a much-needed victory for them, because after such a disastrous week that they had last week, and the 3-game stretch that they've been in, and it looked like playoffs is started to slip away. Let's see if this win will help them build some momentum to get themselves well, actually, they're now back above the red line, but hopefully maybe stay away from the red line and maybe try to have a late season push to get up the table, because we've seen this before. The winner of the Cascadia Darby usually does go on a good run and really have their season kind of turn around, and let's see if the Timbers are going to do so. And for the Sounders, as frustrated as this performance is, it's just kind of one of those nights, and every team is going to have those nights where no matter what you try, you are just being blue ball by the post and just aren't able to put the ball into the back end net no matter what you do. And this is just kind of one of those nights, and they're probably thankful that they had it tonight, even though I know it must pain them that they did lose to their biggest rival. But I'm pretty sure, I know Sounders fan might not agree with this, but they'll probably agree with this later. It's better to have these kind of moments now than compared to having it, like, let's say, MLS Cup when that happens. But either way, that is pretty much it in terms of the 3 games that happened tonight. As always, let me know in the comments below, what do you think of this 3 games? And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys do a like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.